So good morning everyone. So in this session we are going to talk about 4 marks question from Cell the Unit of Life. So here the first important question from the Cell the Unit of Life, that is a cell theory. So it is a 4 marks question. Cell theory. So who proposed the cell theory? Cell theory was proposed by Schleiden, Matthias Schleiden and Schwann. Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwann proposed the cell theory. So here Matthias Schleiden, he was a German botanist, whereas Schwann was a German zoologist. So Schleiden and Schwann together proposed cell theory. Cell theory. So here Schleiden examined a large number of plants, and observed that all plants are composed of different types of so all plants are composed of different kinds of cells which form the tissues of the plant. Okay, so here all plants are composed of different kinds of cells. So cells constitute to form tissues. So at about same time, Theodor Schwann, that is German zoologist. So in previous NCERT, it is as a British zoologist. In a new edition, it is corrected to German zoologist. So it is a correct statement. So Schwann, Theodor Schwann, a German zoologist, studied different types of animal cells and reported that cells had a thin outer layer which is today known as the plasma membrane or cell membrane. Plasma membrane or cell membrane. Right. So that means animal cells do not contain cell wall, whereas plant cells contain cell wall. So the cell wall of plant is made up of cellulose in plants, whereas in fungi it is chitin. Right. In animals, cell wall is absent. Right. So here Schwann reported that cells had a thin outer layer. Now it is called as plasma membrane or cell membrane. So here he also concluded, based on his studies on plant tissues, that the presence of cell wall is a unique character of the plant cells. So presence of cell wall is a unique character of plant cells. On the basis of this, Schwann proposed the hypothesis that the bodies of animals and plants are composed of cells and products of cells. So this is very important. So all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. So Schleiden and Schwann together formulated cell theory, and they concluded that plants and animals are composed of cells and products of cells. So later on, this theory was modified by another scientist. So name of the scientist is Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow in 1855. So here the main drawback of this cell theory which was proposed by Schleiden and Schwann was they cannot able to explain how the new cells are formed, how the new cells are erased. So here Rudolf Virchow explained how new cells are formed. So cell theory, the modified cell theory is also called cell lineage theory or new cell theory, proposed by Rudolf Virchow in the year of 1855. And he said that he explained that cells divided and new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. So he explained that new cells are formed from pre-existing cells, and he named it as omnis cellula e cellula. Omnis cellula e cellula. Omnis cellula e cellula. It is a NEET PYQ question also. Omnis cellula e cellula. Omnis cellula e cellula. That means all cells arise from pre-existing cells. So all new cells arise from pre-existing cells. That means new cells are existing from new cells are arised from old cells. New cells are arised from old cells. So Rudolf Virchow said that all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells, and all cells are arised from pre-existing cells. This is about the cell theory. So it is a 4 marks question in IPE point of view. So Schleiden and Schwann proposed cell theory together. Schleiden was a botanist, Schwann was a zoologist, and they together proposed cell theory, and they said that plants and animals are composed of different kinds of tissues, and they failed to explain how the new cells are formed. And another scientist, Rudolf Virchow, so he explained that all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. So this statement is same statement given by the Schleiden and Schwann. He also repeated the statement, but he added new statement, that is omnis cellula e cellula. That means all new cells are arised from old cells. That means pre-existing cells. So remember, very important. Next important thing is so here another important question from eukaryotic cell is a cell membrane. Cell membrane. So structure of cell membrane, right? So here the detailed structure of membrane, cell membrane, the detailed structure of the cell membrane was studied only after the advent of electron microscope in the 1980s. In the in the 1950s. In the 1950s. So the detailed structure of cell membrane was elucidated after the advent of electron microscopy in 1950s. Here it is given as 1950s, but actual year is 1930s. But no need to remember this year. So it is a 4 marks question. So we have to explain the structure of cell membrane. Here it is explained in RBC, human red blood cell. So here the studies showed that cell membrane is mainly composed of lipids and proteins. Mainly composed of lipids and proteins. Mainly composed of lipids and proteins. And here it is a cell membrane is a bilipid layer. It is a bilipid layer. Cell membrane is a bilipid layer. So here the major lipids are the phospholipids. Major lipids are the phospholipids. So it is a phospholipid layer, and it is a head, and it is a polar head, and it is a non-polar tail, right? So here it is a bilipid layer. So cell membrane is a bilipid layer, and some integral proteins are present. So that integral proteins, so these are the integral proteins, and it is a bilipid layer. So it is a bilipid layer, and integral proteins or intrinsic proteins are wholly embedded in the cell membrane, or partially embedded in the cell membrane, and extrinsic proteins are lie outside. Extrinsic proteins are present outside. These are the extrinsic proteins. These are the intrinsic proteins, that is integral proteins. So the major lipids are the phospholipids. Major lipids are the phospholipids that are arranged as bilayer. That are arranged as bilayer. And polar head is towards the outside, and polar head is, this is the polar head, it is towards outside. Whereas non-polar tails, these are the non-polar tails. So these are the non-polar tails towards the inner side, towards the inner side, right? And here hydrophobic tails, the tails are hydrophobic in nature, whereas head is hydrophilic in nature, right? So here this cell membrane also contains cholesterol, also contains cholesterol and sugar, and this is the peripheral protein, right? Integral protein. So this is the cholesterol, right? So here the sugars are branched, so branched chain is present, right? So later biochemical investigation clearly revealed that cell membranes also possess proteins and carbohydrates. Proteins and carbohydrates. So lipids, proteins and carbohydrates are there. And here the percentage of proteins is the 52% of proteins, 52% of proteins, whereas 40% of lipids. It is a previous NEET question. So percentage, lipids 40%, proteins 52%, and carbohydrates 8%. Carbohydrates 8%, right? And here, depending on the ease of extraction, membrane proteins are classified into, depending on the ease of extraction, membrane proteins are classified into two categories. One is the integral proteins and external proteins or extrinsic proteins. So this one is a extrinsic protein, or it is also called as peripheral protein, right? So peripheral proteins lie on the surface of the membrane. So this is a peripheral protein which lie on the surface of the membrane. So whereas integral protein which is embedded in the cell membrane, that is partially or wholly, right? An improved model of structure of cell membrane was proposed by. So here we are discussing about the cell membrane structure. So this bilipid layer model was explained by that is Singer and Nicholson. Singer and Nicholson. Singer and Nicholson in the year of 1972. So according to this, the quasi-fluid nature of lipid enables lateral movement of proteins within the overall bilayer, and this ability to move within the membrane is measured as its fluidity. So this statement is important for objective point of view. So here the quasi-fluid nature of lipid enables lateral movement of proteins within the overall bilayer. This ability to move within the membrane is measured as its fluidity. The fluid nature of the membrane is also important from the point of view of functions like cell growth, formation of intracellular junctions, and secretion, endocytosis, cell division. Very, very important for objective point of view. You need to remember these functions. That is, the fluid nature of the membrane is also important for the functions like cell growth, formation of intracellular junctions, secretion, endocytosis, cell division, right? And here, so this one of the most important function of cell membrane, plasma membrane, is a transport of the molecules across it. So ఇది 4 మార్క్స్ క్వశ్చన్. సెల్ మెంబ్రేన్ గురించి అడిగినప్పుడు మనం ఇక్కడ వరకు రాసుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డ్రా ద diagram of the cell membrane, that is fluid mosaic model of plasma membrane. ఎవరు ప్రపోజ్ చేసినారు? సింగర్ అండ్ నికోల్సన్. దెన్ ఇందులో ఏమేమి పార్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి? సో ప్రోటీన్స్, లిపిడ్స్, కార్బోహైడ్రేట్స్ అండ్ ఇంటిగ్రల్ ప్రోటీన్స్, రైట్, external proteins. So mention about all these proteins, and so percentage you have to mention about 52% of proteins and 40% of lipids, right? So up to here, up to the functions, that is fluid nature of the membrane. So say endocytosis, cell division, up to here you have to mention about this one, right? Next, another important question from this chapter is, that is mitochondria. So explain the powerhouse of the cell, this mitochondria.